Electoral College Criticisms, presented by the Citizen Genius Project. The Electoral College is an indirect system of electing the president in which citizens vote for electors, then the electors vote for the president. This video will only focus on some of the main criticisms of the Electoral College. For a more detailed explanation of how the Electoral College works, please check out another video. The first criticism of the Electoral College system is that there is the possibility of faithless electors. A faithless elector refers to an elector who promises to vote for candidate A, but actually votes for candidate B. Although the Founding Fathers wanted the electors to have the final say, an elector's ability to switch his or her vote reduces the power of citizens to choose the president. There have been some instances of faithless electors in U.S. history, but they have never changed the outcome of an election. Another criticism is that the popular vote winner may lose the election. In the Electoral College system, one candidate can have the most citizens vote for him or her and win the popular vote, and another candidate can have the most electors vote for him or her and win the electoral vote. The candidate with the most electoral votes becomes president even if fewer citizens voted for him or her. A chart showing sample vote totals in just 2 states will demonstrate why this can happen. Let's say that in California, the Republican candidate, shown in red, got one more popular vote than the Democrat in blue. Therefore, the Republican won California's 55 electors. In Wyoming, the Democrat got many more popular votes and therefore won Wyoming's 3 electors. In this sample election with just 2 states, the Democrat won the total popular vote because the most citizens voted for her. However, the popular vote does not decide who becomes president. The electoral vote does. Since the Republican got more total electoral votes than the Democrat, the Republican won the election and became president. This scenario is not just theoretical. It has happened several times. A third criticism is that people in small states have more voting power than people in large states because of how the electors are allocated. Each state gets electors based on how many representatives and senators it has. The number of representatives each state has is based on its population, but every state has 2 senators regardless of its population. This means that the largest state, California, gets 55 electors, and the smallest state, Wyoming, gets only 3 electors. The issue of voting power is primarily related to the 2 electors each state gets due to each state's 2 senators, so let's just focus on these 2 electors for each state. When looking at California and Wyoming, we can see that a citizen in the small state of Wyoming has more voting power because each citizen is 1 out of 431,011 eligible voters, whereas in the large state of California, each citizen is 1 out of 25,278,803 eligible voters. In other words, each citizen in a small state has greater influence because smaller states have fewer voters per electoral vote. Now let's examine the criticism that swing states have greater influence than other states. The term swing states refers to states that vote for one party in some elections and a different party in other elections. In other words, they swing back and forth between the parties. In contrast, some states vote consistently for one party. For example, Wyoming has voted for the Republican candidate in the last 13 presidential elections, and New York has voted for the Democratic candidate in the last 8. Because swing states, like Ohio and Florida, alternate which party they vote for, they have greater influence in elections because presidential candidates spend more time visiting swing states and discussing issues people in those states care about, while non-swing states can be taken for granted. A fifth criticism is that it is difficult for third parties to earn enough electoral votes to win the presidency. A third party refers to any political party that is not one of the dominant 2 parties, which are currently the Democrats and Republicans. Let's look at the challenge third parties face by examining the popular and electoral votes in just one state. For this example, the Republican got one more popular vote than the Democrat, and the third party finished in a distant 3rd place. Since the Republican won the most popular votes, he won the 55 electors. Even though the Democrat lost, Democrats can reasonably hope to win the next time, but it's difficult for third-party supporters to think their party can win the next time because their candidate finished so far behind. In the next election 4 years later, the Democrat may edge out the Republican in popular votes and therefore win the electors. And the third party may have more success and steal some popular votes away from the Democrats and Republicans. However, even if it gets 50 times as many popular votes, the third party will still lose by a large margin, and therefore will be a long way from winning the state's electors. Over time, this reality results in third-party supporters giving up hope, which causes them to either stop voting or vote for the Democrat or Republican candidate instead. This causes the third party to fade away. Another criticism is that the Electoral College system discourages voter participation. There are two main reasons why. With the exception of the swing states, experts can accurately predict which presidential candidate will win each state. Therefore, some citizens avoid voting because they believe the outcome is a foregone conclusion in their state. Other citizens are turned off by the fact that they don't directly choose the president because the Electoral College has the final say. So while many citizens vote anyway, other citizens lose the motivation to vote and stay home. And since each state has a specific number of electors regardless of voter turnout, states are not incentivized to increase voter turnout. The final criticism I'll discuss is that the Electoral College system disenfranchises some citizens. Because only the 50 states in Washington, D.C. are allocated electors, only citizens residing in those places can vote in presidential elections. Citizens residing in U.S. territories or in other countries do not get to vote for any electors. This has been a short overview of Electoral College criticisms presented by the Citizen Genius Project.